3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Unlearned and Reborn, a podcast where old habits are unlearned and new ones are reborn. Hey! Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of ULRB podcast. I'm your host, Shania Alyse, and for the newbies, ULRB stands for Unlearn and Reborn. Okay? Hey, how you feel? How are you? Listen, last episode was a beautiful episode, if I do say so myself. It was a reflection about my 27th birthday. If you don't know, now you know. My birthday just passed. March 15th, 1996, the Ides of March. So last week I talked about how it is okay to celebrate your birthday. It is okay to make that day about you, as it should be, as you should. Okay? Like, if you want to know more about that, I need you to go back to that episode 28. Go listen to it and then come back to episode 29. Okay? This one is a good one. You might need a pen and paper for this one, or even to play it back, run it back a few times. This week, I want to talk to you about emotional acceptance. And we're still with the theme of healing your inner child, so don't think I forgot, okay? So, talking about emotional acceptance, I have to address the myth that I was convinced, y'all, just like my name is Shania, I was convinced that God would punish me if I was upset with people. How many of y'all have felt like that? Christian pew babies that was raised in the church. They love to harp on that forgive your neighbor, but they don't talk to you about how you want to slap your neighbor at the same time, okay? How you really want to square up with your neighbor, because why would you do that? They don't tell you about that aspect. But no, baby, forgive and baby, let it go. God gonna work on them, pray for them. Yes, but I need you to help me with what I'm feeling on the inside, that I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I really want to throw these hands. I don't want to talk scripture. I want to talk fists. That's what I want to talk. So that's what I want to talk to you today about. That emotional acceptance. So if you remember in season 1, where I had the episode dedicated to me forgiving my father for being absent in my life, that took a very long time because I was dealing with the inability to accept where I was emotionally. I felt abandoned. I felt neglected. And I was very convinced, like I said earlier, that God would be disappointed in me because I was upset with him. I thought that he would be disappointed with me because I felt like my dad was the worst person in the world. Like, he disappointed me. He let me down. He wasn't there. I hate him. I had got to a point of like where even just hearing my dad's name would just make my blood boil. And I'm like, God is not pleased with this. Like, of course, I knew that where I was, once I did start getting into the point where I had resentment and, okay, like this thing had started to like stew in me pretty much. I knew that he was not pleased. I knew that he was not necessarily particularly happy. But see, where I really didn't, I mistook him not being pleased with my stance, my heart, with him loving me less. So I had to really understand that just because I have these big girl feelings, like I call them, the anger, the frustration, the neglect, the abandonment, does not mean that God loves me any less. So if you are feeling that way, I want you to know that he does not love you any less. He may want you to change your posture, your heart posture about a situation. He may want you to change your approach, your thought process about a thing, but trust and believe he loves you. So just starting off with that, he definitely loves you, because it took me a long time to understand that he did in fact love me. He loved me enough to even want to hear how I felt about the situation. It was so hard for me to even vocalize that I was upset with things, y'all. Like, That's just how convinced I was that God would just strike me down. Like, oh, you're angry? I'm angrier. Zap. That's what you get. Like, and it's like, I knew deep down that wasn't true, but it's hard when you're a kid experiencing this kind of thing. And then it's like, yeah, oh, why didn't, you can go to your mom. And it's like, but even having that big girl conversation let me see, when I started to realize that I had very big disappointment in my dad. I think I was about 13, 14. So I didn't even know how to have that conversation with my mom, because it's like, okay, well, how do I start? Like, y'all know that's why I tell y'all to go to therapy. Like, even start your children, younger, like, with therapy, so that they're not in their 20s trying to comb through a decade worth of trauma, like, or, maybe open yourself up to being able to, I think sometimes, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I'm going somewhere. I think sometimes as parents, our parents, because my children have, they're not at the age where they come and tell me like, okay, mama, I felt like this. They may say that they want to hear, but I think they want to hear it a certain way. I don't think they want to hear it the way that we may deliver it, because then, like, how many of y'all have been told, oh, what I say goes, you're not about to be disrespecting me in my house, that whole fiasco. And it's like, I've learned even in this therapy group that I just completed, shout out to me, because I just completed another session of dialectic behavior therapy. I'm so proud of me. And they were saying that, I wish I knew it because I don't want to quote it wrong, but essentially that there is 3 levels. It's broken down into 3 different categories of percentages for communication. There's body language, there is tone, and then there's body cues. I think, like I said, I might be saying it wrong, but it's something like that. Like, I'll try to find it. But anywho, tone was the highest thing. You can say what you mean, but don't say it mean. Like, that is something I learned in the group. So a lot of times people want to say things, i.e., I wanted to say, hey, Dad, your communication is really sucking right now. And as a daughter, as a young woman growing up, I need to have you here. I need to, feel that you're here, because I'm going to start dating eventually, and I'm going to go look for a guy that resembles you. I'm going to marry a guy that resembles you. Whether I intentionally do it or not, he's going to have some qualities that you have. And I need to know that how to, properly deal with that. Again, like, I knew essentially I needed to say something, but the whole stay in a child's place, don't speak until spoken to, that fear of, oh, I might get in trouble if I say it like this. I had that kind of plan in the back of my head. So understanding that emotional acceptance starts with even accepting. You first have to accept the fact that you are feeling this way. How many of y'all have, like, how people say, oh, I felt some type of way. I used to say it a lot. I even have to catch myself, because it's like, no, you don't feel some type of way. You feel a feeling that you are not willing to express, because that feeling makes you feel that type of way that you're talking about. I felt a type of way when you didn't pick up the phone. Okay, so you felt angry. You felt sad. You felt disappointed. You felt abandoned, neglected, rejected when I didn't pick up your phone call. Like, look at me. This is big Naya. I told y'all 27 I'm hitting real different on the podcast. We talking big girl conversations. We're talking accountability. We're talking say what you mean, don't say it mean. We're talking all of that. Okay, listen, 27 Naya is evolved. She has become bigger. She's become growner, older, smarter, wiser, all of that. Okay, and I'm telling you, going through those sessions of that dialectic behavioral therapy, I learned that, wow, we are just not taught as young women, little girls that turn into young women, that turn into grown women. We are not taught that emotions are good. Having emotions are good. It's normal to have emotions. We are taught that we are emotional beings and that there is something wrong with us because we're upset about this thing. Here you go tripping again. Oh, you must be on your period. You must be, here you go. You always complaining about something. And it might be coming off as always, because maybe we don't know how to properly articulate exactly what we are feeling, but there is a feeling there. So emotional acceptance for me, I had to first admit that I felt something that was not happy, joy, excitement, surprised, it's, all of the quote unquote good emotions. I had to admit that I felt something that was not on that list. And babes, I did not like that. I'm going to tell you now, I did not like that. Like feeling abandoned, admitting that I felt abandoned, I felt neglected, rejected. Oh, double it and give it to somebody else, like my husband would say. No, ma'am, get somebody else to do it because I'm not doing it. And it was a huge emotion. Like in those, I felt like those were so hard to admit because I knew that there was an energy exchange that would leave me depleted. I.e., I'm giving out my heart to my father. I'm wanting him. I'm needing him. And he is not responding. He's like, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy, or I'm not even going to engage with that. So here I am. It's almost that energy exchange is leaving my energy low, low, low. It's like, when you're on your phone all day and you are adamant about not going to a charger because, girl, I could just put it in low battery mode. Like, I'm good. Okay, so now when you're mid-text and it dies, you're going to have a problem. And that's kind of how it was for me. I would say, okay, you know what? Fine. I'm not worried about my dad. I'm going to go date. Girl. Now, why would you go do that? Don't worry. I don't need to heal. I'm going to go get in a relationship with another guy. No, ma'am. Listen, young girls that are listening to the podcast, even older women that listen to podcasts, and you're into the dating field, you're not married, you're looking to date. Listen. If I can tell you one word of advice for younger me, before you date, go to therapy. Absolutely. Because in therapy, you will learn your triggers. You will learn your trauma. You will learn things that have bothered you that you didn't even know were a bother to you. You will learn how to articulate your emotions. You will learn emotional acceptance. You will learn to accept that you can feel sad and depressed, and you can change that sadness or depression. Oftentimes we feel things, but we don't speak on it because we may not know like a solution for it. Like how, you say, oh, I'm sad. Okay, well, what are you sad about? Oh, I'm sad because my boyfriend broke up with me. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Or, you might not know everything lined up, and that's fine. But just being able to accept that you feel something, it's big. So yes, that's a little nugget that it don't even cost you nothing for that nugget. Go to therapy before you get into a serious relationship. Go to therapy before you put yourself back on the dating market. Because in a relationship, when you are in close quarters with someone, and then let alone you love them and you guys are intimate, you are going to start, showing yourself without filters. And if you're used to living your life with sunshades on and a nice brimmed hat, and you're always in the shade, and you only let people see you this way, oh babes, when you get in that relationship, everything is going to start coming out, especially trauma. It's definitely going to start coming out. So definitely do that. That ain't even on the topic of the list, but I'm gonna give it to you, okay? There were times where I felt like because I was so quote unquote mature and wise beyond my years and, good and not in trouble, I kind of felt neglected in that sense because I'm like, man, my siblings are getting a lot of attention because they stay in trouble. They get in the principal's office called on them. And I'm like, man, I got my head down. I'm in the books, I'm in extracurricular activities. And I just felt that neglect from my mom because I'm like, maybe she feels like she don't have to worry about me because, I'm so good. I'm not in trouble. I'm not, doing this kind of stuff. So that was something I had to learn to deal within myself, that emotional acceptance of now here I am as I gotten older and I'm becoming, a young girl, a young woman. Now I feel like I have this, this neglect and, this abandonment from my mom, so now I'm feeling this thing from both parents. And I told you, I'm not saying nothing because I'm convinced that God is like, as soon as you say you're angry, I'm zapping. Okay. Like, I'm going to make your life even harder. I felt like, God, like, I'm trying to live this life of, forgiveness. I'm trying to live this life of forgiveness, but it's like first you have to even admit that you have to forgive somebody for something. Imagine you saying, okay, I forgive you. It's no problem. It's no problem. And the person is looking at you like, okay, what are you forgiving me for? And you like, I'm forgiving you because like, bro, you stood me up on that date, whatever. But if you never address it, it's like an empty apology. Everybody knows we hate empty apologies. I'm sorry if I made you. Run it back. Stop saying I'm sorry if I made you feel. You made me feel this way. So start by saying I apologize for making you feel. I apologize for hurting your. I apologize for breaking your whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. We are well aware of our actions, and emotional acceptance, the number one thing is, so accepting that you feel that emotion. The second step is accountability. Somebody here has got to be held accountable. And it could be both of us. It could be me holding myself accountable that I am not the best at expressing my emotions. And then holding that other person accountable that they have let me down. Or if you did express your emotions and they still are not changing, okay, holding them accountable that you are not fulfilling your commitment. Of course, it's hard to do when you're 13 and 12 because you don't even know about this stuff that I'm talking about right now. But that's why I want to teach my children young that, hey, you can tell me if I hurt your feelings and I will apologize regardless of if that was my intent. Because me telling you, even though that was not my intention, I'm sorry, it's almost like I'm disregarding the emotion. I may know that it was not my intent to yell and get frustrated, but guess what? I yelled and I got frustrated. So now I need to apologize for making you feel unwanted. Now I need to apologize for hurting your feelings and yelling and screaming. It doesn't matter about my intention. I did the act, and that is the accountability that 27-year-old Big Naya is walking around with. And I get it. It's easier said than done. There are going to be times where you're going to be like, I really don't want to accept accountability here. But it's necessary because you guys, when we are frustrated and we are hurt, guess what? We go around and frustrate and hurt other people. These people didn't ask to be hurt, but because you're in a place, you're snapping off on people, you're lashing out at people. Girl, let me give you a piece of my mind. Girl, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're playing with. All of that because you have some emotional acceptance that you're ignoring. So if you can even pause here and think of a time where a situation got out of hand and you were so quick to blame the other person, ask yourself. You ain't got to call them. You ain't got to call her or him. But just ask yourself, was there some emotional acceptance that I was ignoring? Like, was there something a part that I played in it? Whether it was denial. I did not, child, ain't nothing wrong with me. It's you. You the one that got a problem. Have you seen you? It ain't me. And I even went through a period of that. Oh, Shania could do no wrong. And my husband would always point it out. I feel like there's an imbalance of accountability here. I feel like there's an imbalance of what I do wrong versus what you do wrong. And I never really could understand it. But here now, because guess what? I am willing to take emotional acceptance. When I blow up and I lash out and I just blow it. I mean, I'm raging. But before then, 2-3 years ago, no, you're not about to tell me I did something wrong because we're talking about you did something wrong. It wasn't me. You did this. Coming to a place where you understand that if I am hurting and I am not willing to go somewhere that can heal the wound and I keep putting Band-Aids on it, eventually I'm going to start bleeding out. And I'm going to start bleeding out on people. I'm going to start bleeding out on opportunities. I'm going to start bleeding out on my dreams, my children. I'm going to start bleeding out and it's going to start affecting other people. It's easy when you have the big microscope and you're looking at everybody else's problems. But babes, judge how you want to be judged. And you don't want somebody bringing that big microscope over to your house because, the baseboards are not clean. The carpet could use some attention. The ceiling fan's a little dusty. But when you over their house, girl, you need to clean this. Girl, girl. No. Emotional acceptance is a gentle process as well because you start with you. When you start with you, well, it's twofold, because so you know how you you're there when you go through therapy, they're gonna really tell you often to be nicer, to be gentle with yourself. Take your time. It is okay. If you're like me, you're used to just, oh my God, I could have done this better, and just going in on yourself, going in, going in, going in. When you are doing emotional acceptance, you cannot do that. You have to start gentle, and really you need to stay gentle, because if you are already in a place of survival mode, where I talked about that a couple episodes ago, you telling yourself that you failed, that is not, and you're being harsh on yourself. Here you go, failing again. You're such a failure. You're this. That is going to do nothing to help the process. Like, no help at all. So being gentle, treating like, and it's hard to even treat yourself like you would treat a child, because some of us have experienced childhood trauma. That was another thing I had to do emotional acceptance with. I was a child. I was not 27-year-old knowledgeable in what I know now, Shania, like I was when I was experiencing that. Understanding that I was a kid. I didn't know any better. And now that I do know better, I have more knowledge, I am wiser, I understand that these things that I experienced were not my fault. They were not my fault. And understanding that I went through a period where I blamed myself so bad, so bad, for the things that I had experienced, that I started to legitimately hate myself. How many of you have blamed yourself for the mistakes of other people, and now you hate the person that you see in the mirror? You talking about emotional acceptance, babe? I don't even like myself. How am I going to accept my emotions? How? And if you're there, I want you to understand and really ask yourself, are you carrying somebody else's luggage? You've been at the airport with your homegirls or your family members before, and there's always that one person that overpacks. And now they don't have the capacity to carry them two carry-ons and them 2-3 luggages to baggage check. So guess what you got to do? You got to help them. And if they're younger, then, the older siblings really got to help them, because they're going to start whining and complaining. And now here you are experiencing discomfort because they wanted to overpack. How many of you are doing that with other people's baggage in your life and your career? How many of you guys are taking on, you only packed with a bag and a carry-on. And now you're walking around with 3 carry-ons and 2 bags. How that happened? Eventually you are going to get exhausted. You're going to get tired, and now you're complaining now. And all you have to do is tell that, no, Or how about this? You can meet me halfway. I'll take one of those carry-ons, but you're going to carry that luggage. Listen, that's one thing about my siblings. Nah, you won't carry that yourself. So, understanding that emotional acceptance goes a long way when you are kind to yourself. I am here with you, and I know that it is hard. It's hard to accept that things did not go your way. It's hard to accept that innocence was taken from you. Your body was violated. You were verbally abused. You didn't get the promotion. You got snubbed, for the recognition. All of that is hard, especially when you were in a vulnerable place, where it was your age, you were young, or, you were new to the job. You were just gung-ho, and you were going in there with your ideas and your innovation, your creativity, all of that. But I want you to know that it's not the end. And understand that just like me in this position that I am, where I can speak about this on a podcast and someone else can get blessed, there is someone that you will meet further down that you are going to tell this to, and they are going to be like, wow, like I needed that. There are people that need to know that there is someone else that has survived this thing that they are experiencing, and that they can come out sane, that they can come out and they can be all right. They can come out and they can get into therapy and wow, this thing that I thought was going to kill me, this thing is really, really, catapulting me to my next platform, to my next achievement, putting me in a circle of people I never thought I could be around. Like, when I started accepting emotionally that, man, these people are really letting me down and these people really are not dependable. They talk a good game, but they are not for me. It freed my space and my environment up for people that could do what I was looking for, that could support my dreams, that could, share my business, that could support my business, that could be great, genuine people. There's a girl I met. Her name was Amani, and I haven't met her in person, but y'all, when I tell y'all I love this girl, like so much. And it's funny how when we came to start talking and everything, I had prayed and I said, God, I just feel like the people in my life sometimes, like, they mean well, but they are just not doing what I need. And I don't think they have the capacity to do it. I said, God, I know there are people that have the capacity to push me and just be supportive where I need them to be supportive and just motivate me to a place, because I know I do that for people. I motivate people. I get people to, go to the gym. There's people that reach out to me and say, girl, I'm so thankful that you post, you post that you be in the gym and stuff. That motivates me. You got me back to listen. And I'm not even hyping myself. I know that there are people that are motivated by what I do. And I'm thankful to God for that. But it's like, I need that. I need people to do that for me. And I met this girl, and man, we don't talk every day, y'all. But when I say when we talk, like, we be talking, and it's just like, it's so natural, and it's such a blessing. And I know it's a God thing, just how it came about to be. And I said all that to say that there are people that are going to do and support and be who you need them to be in your life. So stop settling, because when you pray and you ask God for that new job, and then you're in the current job, and you're bending over backwards for the job, and then you're applying to other jobs, but when you see the requirements, you're like, ooh, I don't know, or it's a little further than what I wanted to drive. I don't know if I'm out of gas on. Listen, let me give you this for free. Stop praying prayers if you trying to figure out how it's going to work out. Stop praying prayers if you're trying to figure out how it's going to work out. Because he never said pray and then come back to me with a blueprint and I'll approve it. No. We look at God like he's our boss, our supervisor. Like he's the GM. Okay, I know our business could use this renovation, and, I got to make sure I put it on the presentation like this, and I say it like this, because that's going to slap. He going to understand it if I say it like, no, he wants you to be as real as you can, as if he don't already know. But that's called relationship. It's just like your spouse that knows that you like chocolate covered strawberries, but they still want you to tell them, babe, I love when you bring me those chocolate covered strawberries, on your way home from work. Oh my gosh, that does something for me. Listen, our men love to be praised. God is the same way. But see, sometimes our natural minds can't understand how he could want that. He's so high up and he's just this big being. Yes, he's the Almighty. He's all of that. But he even needs to know. He wants to know that you need him. But when you need him, you don't get to tell him how he gets to do it. I mean, that's just like real life too. My husband, he's like, okay, if you're going to ask me to clean out the car, don't try to tell me I need to do it right now. I'll do it when I get to it. And that's essentially what God does. It's not like, he gets it to when he's going to do it in his timing. And when I prayed that prayer, I didn't know I was going to meet her. We were going to somehow link up on social media, and now, we exchanged numbers and, we talk. I didn't know all of that. I just knew that I needed business-minded friends, supportive friends, people that were really, really going to be, there. We don't have to talk every day. I'm fine with that. But I needed that extra layer of support. And I went through my periods of trying, okay, yeah, girl, this is it. Or literally going in these groups, trying to vet out people and find, listen, pray the prayer and walk away with the faith and assurance that God is going to do that for you. If it's in his will, he's going to do that for you. And say it was not in his will for me to have, because he will then present what he wants for you to have. And then it's up to you to take it, which is why you'll pass up that job because it pays less. And you can't see that God wants you there so that you can meet someone there that then is going to give you the opportunity to go to where, to work in tech or, to go and be closer to home. So you're going to get switched over to that building. But you can't see all of that. And that's just the natural part of us, that we can't see the ending, so we'll stop early. If you can start small with emotional intelligence, being honest and open that, hey, you really disappointed me when you did this. I really felt disappointment when this happened. I've even told God before, God, I was disappointed because I thought that you were going to do this and you did not do that for me. You can tell him that. He can handle that. And that's what I had to do. Like, God, I thought that you were going to, do. And I realized that my disappointment in God was embedded in how I was disappointed by people. I looked at him like he was a human being, and he is not human. His ways are not human. His thoughts are not human. His being is not human. Which is why sometimes I have to check my own self, because I'm like, okay, I'm thinking God is like my husband, in like form, as the way a man, a human male thinks, and he's way, way above that. He doesn't just want to provide for our basic needs; he wants to give us the desires of our heart as well. So, emotional intelligence, emotional acceptance, all of those go into each other, but understanding that you first have to admit the emotion. And you can do it. Like, even if you have to write it down first before you address the person, do that. But bottling it up, I want you to honor yourself this year and stop doing that. Because eventually, just like when you shake up that Fanta and you open it and and there's, suds and foam and stuff everywhere, that is going to be you. And that is not how we were intended to live life. I want you to honor yourself and emotional acceptance and start today. Start small. Therapy, I'm going to say it, therapy. You want help? Therapy. And commit to it. You commit to everything else. 30 days here, this 14-day plan, my snapback. Commit to the betterment of yourself with this. Okay? Okay. Listen, I love that y'all are supporting the podcast. Shout out to y'all. Thank you so, so much for doing all that you do. I see the numbers. I see y'all. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing and how you show up for me. Thank you. If you would like to place an order so that you can support the podcast, go to www.ulrbpod.com. Top left-hand corner, click fan merch. You click on that, it will show you the full catalog of hoodies, t-shirts, sweatshirts, a mug, some stickers, whatever you like. You can place an order and support the podcast. Also, if you would like, please follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. ULRB Podcast is where you can find it. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when a new episode uploads, and hit the plus for automatic downloads. That way, it's literally already on your phone. You won't even have to go and search for it. YouTube, Shania Alyse. I would love for you to follow us on YouTube. Right now, I'm audio only, but I will be returning in the next few months with video. I know y'all miss it because I miss it. So I'll be back. I promise you I'm going to be back. But I need you to follow so that when I'm back, you'll know. Turn on your notification bells on there too. And as always, Sundays, 9 a.m. EST is when you will be hearing from me unless I tell you different. Tune in, plug in, share, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I want to grow with you this year. If you are loving what you're hearing, rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave comments. Tell me what you're loving. Tell me what you would like to hear more. You have a topic you want discussed? Tell me. Let me know. I really love that y'all support me the way that you do. And I am grateful for the podcast. And I'm more then certainly grateful for you. Love you so, so much. Okay? Talk soon. Peace.